Okay, it's been about a year since I visited Madeira on movie. And under a few not difficult but reasonably tough climbs last year. So hopefully I will do a little bit better this year or tonight. Who's getting ready to root as I sort of began the stream. Before I was ready to make a start. Put on my shoes. And those cloths. Okay, almost done. Let's get some audio going as well.
The climbs to give every rider a little push, because then you are opening up a huge can of worms.
It is a huge can of worms.
He is extremely lucky not to be penalised.
There'll be no changes in terms of anything that did happen yesterday. There's 156 riders on the start line today from the 178 that started almost 3 weeks ago now in Brussels. Seems such a long time ago that Mike Turnison won that opening stage, yet you measure how much fun you're having by how quickly or slowly time seems to fly. This is stage 19, but if you were to tell me it's stage 9, I'd believe you.
It has flown by. We've had such fantastic racing, and having spoken about Julien Alaphilippe and what happened yesterday, I've got to say I'm still a fan. I love watching him race. I love his panache. I love the way he tackles the race. He just rides it for what's in front of him at the time. Doesn't overplan as they roll away into the neutral section at Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne. A short stage, Matt, 126 kilometres, but I'm expecting it to be incredibly intense because the other contenders, they need to ride him out of the jersey today. They can't afford to wait till tomorrow.
Well, you said it over dinner last night. They could outweight themselves.
I feel they waited too long yesterday on the Glibia. They let Dylan van Baal from Ineos set the pace for a very long time, and then Geraint Thomas asked Bernal to attack to open things up.
So he says.
I even felt it was too late. Oh, they don't ride on instinct at Ineos. They plan things. It's weighing up a situation, but then there's planning into everything. He asked Bernal to attack, and then G tried to go across to him to make his own attack, and that's when Alaphilippe was being dropped. This is Le Cathédrale Saint-Jean-Baptiste.
And this one dates all the way back to the 11th century, and it's been classified as a historical monument since the 30th of October 1906. The foundation of the tower that you can see there, though, that actually goes all the way back to the 6th century. And this cathedral is one of the oldest frameworks in France. Several of the roof trusses have been dated to 1075. So the roof trusses, they have stood the test of time, and you could use the old cliche, they don't make them like they used to. It's also well renowned for its frescoes and its windows, and I know who you want to talk about.
Yep, the man that, well, we haven't got an official prize, but we've started calling it the Scottie Pippen medal for assists, and that is Marc Soler, the man who is at the front of the peloton next to the red car. He has been so good in this tour for Team Movistar.
On the other side of the traffic island, that looks like it could be Tim Wellens, actually, that's trying to go across to Fabio Aru. The flag of Brittany that you see further back down the road, it is blowing a strong tailwind at this point. This is at the back of the race. This is Stefano Rosetto. He's been in lots of breakaways, particularly throughout the first week, and is now definitely paying the price.
Yeah, that is just a case of on the flat, completely strung out, maximum speed, and suddenly you go pop.
It's back down to 25 seconds already. The best place rider in this group in terms of the overall classification is Dan Martin. The rider in the white colours now going through to the front. He's 34 minutes and 23 seconds behind the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe. So for the Koenig Quickstep, they don't need to chase this group of four, but they need to control the rest of the peloton, so there's no subsequential breakaway like we saw yesterday that swells to 33 with some dangerous riders in it.
And it's not highly likely that riders who are highly placed on GC will make it into that group. But they do want to avoid riders like Kwiatkowski, for example, getting in the group, getting up the road. They become a springboard for the likes of Bernal and Thomas. Attack out of the group, drop Alaphilippe, get across to a fresh teammate in front who sat up and waited, drive it on through. I love the element of team racing in this tour. Movistar have been doing it really, really well. Unable to unseat Alaphilippe as yet. We can see now since yesterday with Van Baal in front and today how Ineos are riding, they're trying to set up a similar situation.
Trying desperately to do so. They've covered just a little bit over 20 kilometres so far. The average speed has been 43 k's per hour. Lars Bak has managed to return to the rear end of the peloton just in time for the start of the climb.
And when you've just returned, that is a horrible sight. As we hover above Le Fort du Sapy.
Fortified complex that was built purely for a defensive mechanism. This has itself standing at around about 1,700 metres above sea level. It was built in the late 1800s.
Yeah, your heart sinks when you just get to the back of the peloton. You see the sign that says start of the climb, 3.1 kilometres to the top, and it completely strung out like a long snake in front of you, and the pace on. 21 seconds now, the gap to this front group. Aru still trying to get his way across.
I wonder what the emotional response will be from Dan Martin to this attack from Fabio Aru.
Was that Moscon that was trying to...
Well, they're clearly trying to mark the moves. Ineos with a strategy to get themselves into a breakaway. So much support, Alaphilippe. Lots of support for the current race leader. Nibali with a sneaky look across the left shoulder to see what's happening behind.
Still holding strong, 25 seconds, and that group of four will be more comfortable on the climb than they were on the flat. Exceptional climbers have made it into the front group. And this is going to split now, and this will become a big group if they can push this on. Aru, Woods, Bardet, Jack Haig has made it into the move at the moment, and it is splitting behind them.
And it's splitting at the back. This is Kalmajat now who's been distanced. He'll have plenty of company pretty soon.
See Michael Matthews in the background.
Galopin at the front, trying to force the breakaway for Romain Bardet.
Steven Kruijswijk has followed this move. He is really quite close to the front. So there'll be a reaction to that. They will not want to let this group go because Kruijswijk is up there. George Bennett as well, I spotted. And then Movistar, they're shutting it down. But little cracks and splits all the way down the group.
And Simon Yates was near the front as well for Mitchelton Scott.
Tailwind up the climb. Perfect for these four.
It's down to 17 seconds because of that reaction, but they're steady. This is gas on, gas off, as the French champion, affectionately known as Wawa, Warren Barguil, is the next to go, followed by Galopin.
Tony Galopin really struggled in the early part of this tour with the injuries he sustained from a crash in the French Championship. He's starting to come back into form.
He looked so sore in the first week. I grimaced watching him. I felt uncomfortable watching him.
It was a big call to even start him in the tour, wasn't it?
It's impressive that he's gotten through that first phase and now he's riding this strongly at the back end. Well done, Tony Galopin. Fabio Aru once again in the white colours behind them. Flick of the elbow from Warren Barguil. Galopin wants the polka dot jersey to be with him. The big K on the move now, that is Ilnaz Zakarin. Was he on the move? No, he's just rejoining. That's the split near the front.
Yeah, this was the attack that was going at the bottom of the climb, and it did split, but there were some highly placed riders in there. And I saw Kruijswijk following the wheels, so that forced the reaction of the rest of the favourites to shut it down.
Galopin Barguil. Just a small advantage over Fabio Aru. He looks over his shoulder, and once again, he'll see Michael Woods breathing down his neck.
Now another small gap opening up. So Ryder on the front of the main peloton, just letting the wheel go, swinging across, trying to create, or help to create that breakaway.
Trying to. At the back, number 95, that's Sebastian Langeveld. He's second last overall.
And that was Michael Hepburn, who was just in front of him.
Also going back, Gonçalves. This is Pascalon. In fact, this is Van Melsen from Wanty Group Goubert. Now, it went down to 17 seconds. It's been inconsistent with the chase, but out in front, they've been rock solid, and they're all fully committed as if it's a four-man team time trial. It's back out to 21.
A bit like we spoke about with how Quintana rode the Gillibier yesterday, steady state effort from bottom to top, as opposed to attacks coming thick and fast, really intense into the red zone, but then you need to back off. So they're taking one step forward, two steps back in the chase group behind our leading four.
And behind that move from Warren Barguil, I did note the black and yellow colours of Jumbo-Visma. They've got their strategy to try and put a rider out in front. 1 kilometre to the top of this Category 3 climb.
Theo Bilbao swings across. He looks over the shoulder. A lot of checking behind from these four. Vincenzo Nibali staying cool as ever. Just keep tapping out the rhythm.
Still more than 3,000 metres worth of climbing to go.
And he knows if he just keeps riding right at his limit, the gap has got to open back up. Surely the favourites, who are the only one who really could close it, are not just going to ride across this gap.
Dylan Groenewegen in the yellow colours at the back. Andre Greipel in the white colours. The sprinters aiming to survive. Even Sergio Henao is back here, number 93. That is Simon Clark.
Mike Turnison up the front of this little part of the group, just behind the split. And the group up in front of that, Greg Van Avermaet is there, Niels Pollitt. Here's Julien Alaphilippe with Geraint Thomas right on his wheel, and next to him is Thibaut Pinot, the favourites, all stuck together at the moment.
And importantly, just in front of the yellow jersey, he had Enric Mas looking really comfortable, sitting up, adjusting his jersey. One more teammate there for De Koning Quickstep. Couldn't see who it was, but I would assume that it was Dries Devenants. Guess who again?
Oh yeah, you could say it without looking at the screen. There's a Movistar rider, Soler with Wellens. Postelberger or Mulberger?
No, that's Patrick Conrad, the
Conrad. Oh, there's three of them, and I reckon they're triplets.
This is Rudy.
Forget the Yates twins.
They're hard to pick. Rudy Millar going backwards there for Group Armour FDJ. Just hearing on Race Radio, Caleb Ewan being dropped. In fact, here he is. Well, Caleb Ewan is in a really good position in the context of this stage, Robbie.
This is very good. I mean, what you've really got to do is just ride at your limit and hope you end up in a decent group. He's got teammates with him, and they just have to ride to their own limit for what they can manage for the next 100 kilometres in the mountains.
They're almost at the top of the climb. Dan Martin leading through. They're not worried about the 2 points for the top of this climb. They're just trying to maintain their advantage. It's Bilbao in second position. Nibali in third spot. Harada just holding on at the back. Martin leads them over the top. If you were in Caleb Ewan's position at the moment, would you be happy with that?
Well, you're not quite. Well, you'd be happy that you've only just been dropped now.
Yes,
rather than dropped at the kilometre 0.3, where some riders were already in trouble. And having only just been dropped, it's feasible he could descend his way back onto a much larger group. May be able to drag themselves back up to the peloton, but still plenty of racing to come to get themselves into the break of the day. And the problem is, it's a short descent, a little bit of valley road which drags up. Basically, you're on the lower slopes of the next climb, the Category 2, the Monte de Ossoir. A 6.5 kilometre climb at 6%.
These are some of the riders that have been dropped from the yellow jersey group. One of them is number 22, Kasper Asgreen, and he is all in to make sure he returns to support the yellow jersey. What about the rider in last position?
Yeah, Jasper de Burst, he was in the break yesterday. He's the lead-out man for Caleb Ewan. He's been riding a really good tour, supporting Caleb. And the back end of the Tour, he's riding as if he's really fresh.
He was in the break yesterday and got to witness the yellow jersey battle on the Col de Galibier.
Well, he's much more a sprinter than he is anything else, and he's got himself in the break yesterday, still in the group now, so really well done to De Burst. We'll see groups flying down on the left of screen, scrambling to rejoin.
And as you've told us throughout this year's tour, the race organisers, they've formed the barrage. They're not letting those team cars go past, which, if there's a mechanical problem at the front, can cause an even bigger problem, as Jesus Herrada is having trouble keeping up with the descending skills of his three breakaway companions.
Yep, the other three fairly evenly matched, and Herrada struggling. Oh, he didn't quite time the bunny hop onto the bridge very well either.
It's a phenomenal atmosphere on the side of the road to the front, particularly in the high mountains, with the long wait for the peloton to arrive. And I saw some images yesterday of a Dutch group leading a big sing-along at the top of the Col de Galibier, where there was the sign for Free Luke Rowe. This race continues to split. The yellow jersey here, Julian Alaphilippe, sits just behind the Mitchelton Scott rider, Adam Yates. This is Michael Woods in the pink colours. Patrick Conrad comes through, checking the whereabouts perhaps of Emmanuel Bookman from Bora Hansgrohe. Movistar there also with Marc Soler. This race is being torn to shreds by the tempo at the front. That leading four, they still hold on to a significant advantage in the context of this stage, just 44 seconds ahead of the yellow jersey group, but there is a split, and the 19 riders that find themselves at 25 seconds behind includes Rigoberto Urán. Rigoberto Urán having started the stage in 9th position overall at 5 minutes and 33 seconds down. This is Marc Soler now coming through to the front, followed by Alexei Lutsenko. Next in line is Mollema, then it's Caruso who's in the break yesterday. This is Peter Sagan, he's back with the yellow jersey group. Bookman is there, there's the yellow jersey, followed by Thibaut Pinot. But Julian Alaphilippe, Robbie, he's limited for teammates. Number 22 comes by, that's Casper Asgreen. He's going to be important for the next 50 kilometres.
It's going to be incredibly important, and it'll start to be a little bit of panic stations. But what Alaphilippe has done so well so far in this tour is not panicked. You've got Urán up the front. You've got riders who can really become a danger by getting in a breakaway. But Alaphilippe, they do what they can, but they don't panic, and they wait for the others to panic first.
Look at all the yellow helmets in this group. The yellow helmets of the Movistar team. There's 3 of them, and it includes
Landa?
Alejandro Valverde. Valverde is in that group. He sits in 10th place overall at 5 minutes and 58 seconds down. That is a dangerous group.
Because I was trying to spot Landa in the group of the yellow jersey. I wasn't able to do that yet. And with all those light blue jerseys, yellow helmets buzzing up the road, it'd be easy to lose track of where Landa is.
What's happening with Thibaut Pinot?
This is the problem.
This is for the Frenchman. 5th overall, Thibaut Pinot at 1 minute and 50 seconds down. He's looking a little rattled.
He's at the race doctor.
Race doctor, not mechanical.
No, he's had something happen to his leg.
Looks like he might have been bit.
Yeah, I wonder if he's had a sting of some sort. Pointing to it, gesturing to his leg. Or looked like he had some sort of sports taping on his leg that was being removed. It's hard to say. 2 of the doctors working at once.
And there's more tape that's been ripped off the leg of Thibaut Pinot. And now they're putting fresh tape on for the Frenchman.
But that's a bandage, not a tape. So I wonder if he's been hit in the leg by something and he's got some sort of cut. So hard to tell.
Oh, it was a violent reaction from Thibaut Pinot. A real shock to the system, whatever it was.
But you could see it on his face and really looked quite panicked.
That's why I thought he might have been stung by something as it happened. He's now falling a long way back with the convoy of cars still stuck behind where he is, and he's now looking for the team car, and he'll need some team help. It doesn't look good at all for Thibaut Pinot.
This looks terrible for Pinot.
This might be the end of his hopes to win the Tour. He's still looking over for his team car for support, and he looks incredibly distressed. I'm sure he doesn't want the TV camera with him, but we want to know what is happening with Thibaut Pinot. He probably wants to know what's happening with Thibaut Pinot. What exactly is the damage for the Frenchman? He's desperately close to coming to a grinding halt.
I think this is going to be the end of Pinot's tour.
There are no teammates coming back here for him. This is a lonely moment for Thibaut Pinot in a very public atmosphere. Pat on the back coming from Anthony Roux. Elia Viviani is in this group, the Italian sprinter. Rudy Mollard tapping him on the back, and they're not waiting. This is tour over for Thibaut Pinot.
This is game over. We do not know what has happened with his leg, but it was very sudden. It's a matter of time until he pulls over and steps off.
It's always extremes with Thibaut Pinot. You can see the look of concern from Alexis Gujard as he rode past.
Everybody is just shocked.
Us included. The distress is etched across his face.
The mechanic with the scissors. It's hard to tell if it's a muscular problem, something suddenly gone, or he's been hit by something.
He stopped
takes
it now.
the scissors himself. He's going to cut the bandage off again.
Pandemonium at the Tour de France. The cameraman doing his best to try and stick with Thibaut Pinot, but he's already out to more than 2 minutes behind. I'm sure he's been at a standstill for a while.
One of the strangest things we've seen.
It is a sporting disaster for Thibaut Pinot. He's looked so good throughout this race.
There's no visible damage on his leg, so he's having some sort of muscular problem.
Well, whatever it is, we're just guessing, but I'm anticipating that is it for Thibaut Pinot.
And the look on the face, it just speaks volumes, doesn't it? What a shame for Thibaut Pinot. When it was all looking so good, when he was being talked up as the big favourite to take over from Julien Alaphilippe after his performance on the Tourmalet, it looks like being a sad end for the Frenchman.
And our 4 leaders, that's all happening behind them. They're about to be caught by a big group that includes multiple riders from the Movistar team, and chiefly amongst them is Alejandro Valverde. There he is. You can see the rainbow jersey, the world champion with the yellow helmet on.
Pinot, he continues to ride on, but visibly distressed and making no inroads on the groups in front of him. In fact, he's being caught by riders who've been dropped, like Alexander Kristoff, who was behind him.
He's been caught by a sprinter, and Thibaut Pinot is one of the world's best climbers.
He bravely trying to continue, but at this pace, yeah, we've said he's 2 minutes 42 behind the front of the race. He's already lost 2 minutes just about to the yellow jersey. Such a strange situation.
Well, we will follow any news that we can get from his team, Groupama FDJ, but they won't be able to work it out just as yet, so I'm sure that they won't be making a statement of ambiguity. They'll wait until they get confirmation as to what has happened with Thibaut Pinot, but that is so sad to see. This is Woods at the front, followed then by Amador. Amador and Soler are in that group, but at the back, the group is splintering. Number 67 is being dropped, so too Matthews in the red colours. This group is really motoring. Bauke Mollema, this is Yates, this is Simon Yates. Guillaume Martin is here from Montegroup Gilbert. Fabio Aru, Rigoberto Uran is number 91.
Dylan van Baal, Reichenbach, number 57 from FDJ, but his leader is out the back and looks like he is on the verge of abandoning this Tour de France. It's Movistar who are driving the pace. Andre Amador on the front. They have caught Nibali and Bilbao.
And it's now Castroviejo forced to do the chasing, followed then by Dries Devenens. It's Geraint Thomas who's the next in line, followed by Kruijswijk. Then it's the brave Bennetts.
And behind that, Emmanuel Boekman with his teammates from Bora Hansgrohe. So like we said before, Julian Alaphilippe, he's the last one to panic out of all of the favourites. When it's all happening in front, he looks like he's about to be ridden out of it. The others are not willing to gamble their own positions to isolate Julian Alaphilippe.
We saw plenty of evidence yesterday of the advantage of being a good descender, and Julian Alaphilippe, the current race leader, is one of the very best. At the top of the climb yesterday, he was just under 30 seconds behind the other group of the favourites in the race for the yellow, like the defending champion Geraint Thomas. And not only did he catch them pretty early, he went past them and he put them under pressure.
He did, and that is one of his big weapons, Julian Alaphilippe. But we heard Andy Schleck saying, I used to be a really good descender. I used to take a lot of risks and never had a problem. Until then, I'd never had a bad crash on a descent. It takes one bad crash on a descent to really make you risk averse.
Any crashes that scared you?
I wasn't scared for long because they happened so quickly, but a couple of times within the last kilometre, or just coming into right as the sprint was starting, 300, 250 to go, been involved in crashes where they go down all around you, all in front of you, and you know you're going down. A split second later, you are down, you're sliding on the road, you're rolling along, skin's coming off, so you don't have long to be scared, because then you're dealing with what's just happened to me, what hurts, what's broken.
But there is that moment where time seems to stop. When you know you're going down, it's beyond the point of being able to save it.
You have that tiny bit of slow motion, and then it speeds up times 10. Once you hit the ground, it speeds up a lot.
On a positive note, which was your favourite descent in the Tour de France?
I loved them all, to be honest. Whenever I got to the top of a mountain in a mountain stage, I loved every descent. I prefer just the long flowing ones without hairpin corners. You just didn't need to brake, and you could actually relax and recover a little bit.
Les of Saint-Etienne. The peloton charges on through. Inside the last 90 kilometres already. This has been a rapid start to the stage. Average speed so far, 38 kilometres per hour after an hour and 15 minutes of racing. Significant breakaway of 29 riders. If you have just joined us, unfortunately, having started the day in 5th place overall, Thibaut Pinot has abandoned the race. Chase is on by Ineos and the Koenig Quick-Step. The two riders who are doing the chasing, Jonathan Castroviejo for Ineos, the team of Geraint Thomas and Egan Bernal. And Casper Asgreen clearly descends well. He has exited those couple of corners with a gap to the rest of the group.
Yeah, clearly descends faster than Jonathan Castroviejo. Here's the yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe, shadowed then by the Movistar riders, Quintana, then Landa behind him.
And just spotted for the first time the bandages on the right leg of George Bennett, the Kiwi who crashed twice yesterday. We knew about the first one, but when we started to hear reports of the second one, we were really concerned about him because we hadn't seen him, which is always bad news. Fortunately, he did finish the stage in 27th position and says he is okay.
That's amazing in itself, to finish that stage in 27th when you've crashed twice, but the second one you're laying by the roadside on the final descent. Just to peel yourself up off the road and get back on again. But it shows how quick and how far forward in the race he was on the climb of the Galibier.
This is Michael Woods in the pink colours. Flick of the elbow from Warren Barguil, who also flicked his elbow, but there was nobody else behind him to do the pacemaking at the front. Woods wants to keep driving this group for his teammate, number 91, Rigoberto Urán.
He's doing exactly the right thing, trying to push the pace on, but there was just someone back there who swung across, didn't follow the wheel, and the gap opened up. Emmanuel Boekman, number 12 from Bora Hansgrohe.
He's now into the top 5 with the abandonment of Thibaut Pinot. Not how he would have liked to have gotten there, but he moves himself into the top 5 and is a rider who came into the race aiming for top 10.
I'm sure that news has come through as a shock to the riders in the peloton. They would have heard over race radio from their team directors in the cars behind them that Thibaut Pinot has abandoned the race. and no one would find it a pleasant surprise. None of them would be saying, oh, great, I've moved up one. Not a single one. Everyone's been in that situation where you've been riding a race, doing well, and then something goes wrong. You don't wish it on anybody. And we wish Thibaut Pinot a quick and full recovery for whatever it is. Something that was obviously there after yesterday because he had his legs strapped. We saw them remove strapping, put a bandage on. They were trying everything. This is Rigoberto Urán. Quick look across at the camera. Have you got my good side?
Incidentally, although they're in clear skies at the moment with 76 kilometres remaining, at the finish line, there are spectators out the front of the commentary position, ducking for cover. They're grabbing ponchos and they're searching for umbrellas.
Yep. Just the first drops coming down. The clouds have gathered above Tignes here at the finish. And the forecast was for possible thunderstorms from 3 p.m. It's now nearly 3:15 local time. And that chance, 30 to 40% chance all through the evening until the end of the race. So if the riders are lucky, they'll avoid the storms in whichever valley they find themselves in at the time. This is Michael Matthews just drifting backwards. This back to our main peloton with the yellow jersey, also the green jersey.
He was in that breakaway group, but as the tempo was a bit hot on one of the climbs, he is now conceded and he's gone back to the yellow jersey group.
Gap drifting up now too, over the minute. So the chase really in earnest at first, trying to just pull it back. Now they've realised we can't just ride across to it. They've settled into what will be the tempo for the day. There have to be some big accelerations from the domestics who are left. Like Wout Poels, if he can find the form of recent years. And that's a big question mark at Team Ineos.
That is the question mark. They do have the card of Dylan van Baarle in that breakaway group. They could make the call, OK, Dylan, we need you back here. Wait.
Oh, it was like yesterday. He'll be sitting there not contributing very much at all and waiting for the signal from the team. We saw yesterday at the point where he went out the back of that front group, it seemed to be taking too long for the liking of Jonathan Casaviejo, who was gesticulating as we get the confirmation of race radio. Michael Matthews distanced from that breakaway group. Yeah, Casaviejo, he would have liked Dylan van Baarle to get back there a little bit sooner to take over the pacemaking duties. He did that very well on the slopes of the Galibier before the attack came from Egan Bernal. Geraint Thomas said, I asked him to.
He wanted more pace. He wanted the tempo to be hotter on that climb. This is Woods now. He's been in that breakaway and he looks like he is starting to feel the ill effects of multiple days in the breakaway. This group splitting up under the pressure that has been applied at the front. 63, this is Andre Amador. Second day in the breakaway for him. That is Ali Gilbert in the white colours of Ikea Samsung. They don't look very well organised at the moment, this leading group.
No, here number 122 is Fabio Aru. He's on the wheel of Simon Yates, a dual stage winner. Volker Mollema is also here, 136 for Trek Segafredo, the teammate of Richie Porte. This is Laurence de Plus from Jumbo-Visma. Guillaume Martin made his way into the break again. Bilbao, Galopin, Woods. No, not Woods, it's further back. Urán, excuse me.
There's Van Baarle. Do they make the call to have him head back to the head of the peloton and assist with the chase?
Giulio Ciccone is also in this group, another teammate of Richie Porte, a young Italian.
One of the stars of his generation. He's still in the professional peloton, but unfortunately not in this year's tour for him is Mark Cavendish. In addition to winning 30 stages throughout his career at the Tour de France, he's also had a stint in the famous Maillot Jaune. Let's take a look at Mark Cavendish and his time in the yellow jersey.
The yellow jersey is
On Thibaut Pinot, team statement.
From Groupama FDJ, Thibaut suffers from a muscular lesion on his left thigh. Yesterday he finished stage 18 with a sharp pain and had troubles walking in the evening. His condition didn't improve today. He just withdrew from the Tour de France. That is so sad for Thibaut Pinot.
Well, a muscular lesion, I assume they mean a muscle tear, because that is the sort of pain that would bring on, is what you could read from Thibaut Pinot's face.
Yeah, Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is Volker Mollema. So disappointment of the day. Do you agree with my assessment, well, Poles? Because he's not at the level he's normally been at to support the team. Plus he had a crash just to make life a little bit more difficult. Or have you got somebody else?
No, I guess, but not hugely disappointing because it still went in the right direction
for the team.
For the team. And you just never know with them when they say, no, I've got a situation under control. But I would have expected them to want to use Walpole's yesterday. Hopefully for them, he's made a recovery for today. The Glacier de Vieux.
The old glacier sitting at over 3,000 metres above sea level. This is Marc Soler. He has been distanced from that leading group as Jonathan Cathro-Viejo still chasing with some urgency for Ineos. Unsung hero yesterday.
In the meantime, the gap out to 126, so they really are pushing it at the front.
Unsung hero, Alexei Lutsenko.
Absolutely. He was on the attack from kilometre 0, and he just kept on going until he was finally in the group. It was a fantastic ride to end up third. Bardet on the Galibier kept flicking the elbow and yelling at Lutsenko to do a turn. Lutsenko was absolutely at his limit. He could not do any more, and then Bardet rode away from him. But to hang in there on that stage and finish third was phenomenal. We thought the day before was a better chance to actually win the stage with the terrain, but he is strong.
He was brilliant yesterday, third on the stage. He's in the breakaway today. Bike IQ move of the day. I found this one hard to determine, and I'll give you my rationale before you give me your assessment. I went with Romain Bardet for these reasons. He's had a really tough tour, nowhere near his expectations or his normal standards. He got himself in the breakaway, taking points in the King of the Mountains classification. He now leads that, and he might have been able to set up a position for him to reach the podium in Paris in the polka dot jersey. I thought that showed great character and smarts. How can I get a big result out of this race?
So for mine, it's a good choice, but more than being clever, I admire his mental fortitude. To be able to switch things around after being so disappointed when his overall hopes fell apart, and then to put the gun on the other shoulder, so to speak, and aim at something else. Got himself in the break. To be able to come back from that disappointment, not drop his bundle, and refocus and get himself in the break. Yeah, well done. So, brain power.
A bravery award. Have you got an alternative bike IQ move from yesterday that really stood out for you?
It wasn't the team assistant of De Koning Quickstep with the push of Julien Alaphilippe. Wasn't that.
Got your attention though, didn't it?
Egan Bernal.
Traded in the country and the nationality of the team. It goes to where the riders hail from as well.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, plenty of coverage in Australia as being an Australian registered and sponsored team. Still just down the valley at the moment. So the profile telling us a little bit of a fib. Come down towards the sprint. It's a short downhill section, and after the sprint, it'll start to drag back up again.
As Barguil at the front, the French national champion. Vincenzo Nibali has been doing a lot of work in this group. He wants to win a stage desperately.
And Barguil wants to lead through the sprint. Long turn on the front from Barguil.
Perhaps there's a contemplation of the time bonus as well, as Tony Galopin wants the points, so too does Lutsenko. And it is Lutsenko, the third place finisher from the stage yesterday, who collects them.
Who knows why? Just because it's there.
Yeah. Number 77, that's Magnus Gort Nielsen at the back of the group. Alejandro Valverde didn't waste any energy through that intermediate sprint. He just stayed towards the back. Galopin pressing on along with Lutsenko. Fabio Aru has now been caught by the main peloton, being led still by Jonathan Cathro-Viejo and Casper Asgreen. And coming towards the front, Bora Hansgrohe now doing the chasing. That is Daniel Ost that sits in third spot, because the position in fifth overall of Bookman is under threat by Uran and Valverde.
And this has always been the saviour for Julien Alaphilippe. Riders further back on GC, they all start to protect their own positions. The team of Bookman and himself Well, he came into the Tour saying, I'd love to finish in the top 10. At the moment, he's occupying 5th overall. He was 6th coming into today. Thibaut Pinot abandons the Tour. He's got a top 5 for the taking at the moment if he can continue the performances he's shown in the mountains so far, Bookman. But all those teams will just start to defend their patch.
We haven't seen any signs of weakness from Emmanuel Bookman.
He's been extremely good. Steady state riding. But he hasn't chosen just to sit in the wheels either. On the Tourmalet, there was a moment where he came to the front where it was really crowded, very narrow passage. He went to the front, and it wasn't to sit up to try and get them to go at his own pace, slow things up and recover. He really went through hard and put riders under pressure.
Yeah, indeed. Now we see the peloton coming through Basson, where the sprint was held. This is one of the regions in the Alpine parts of France. It's not really focused on the Alpine skiing, more looking for cross-country skiing. They've got 150 kilometres worth of tracks as it sits on this plateau at around about 1,800 metres.
Well, that would give them good coverage all winter long. And there is the shooting range that you see in the biathlon, in cross-country skiing.
Is the biathlon stadium here that hosts a few international events.
I always admire that, but they ski in heart rate around 200 and then hold their breath between shots, laying or standing.
Each of those activities independently is really, really hard. Putting them together, super tough. Iberly still driving through in the red colours from Bahrain Merida. Valverde also contributing to the pacemaking. He knows if he's a passenger in this group, others won't work. Van Baal, though, rolling through to the front for Ineos, will try to slow things down.
Rigoberto Urán at the back, number 91. Just making sure he's got enough fuel on board.
Mitchelton Scott, they're represented in the breakaway by Simon Yates. Back in the group with the yellow jersey is the young Australian Jack Haig, making his first appearance at the Tour de France. And we caught up with Jack before the start of today's stage. Let's now have a listen to what he had to say.
We will again have Robbie's Gran Fondo, and it's a really fantastic day out in the Gold Coast hinterland. 3 different courses, 60, 100 or 130 kilometres. You choose your level of pain with really nice climbs, 5 to 6% gradient. And that's the type of event that gets people introduced to cycling, think, hey, I really like this, get kids involved too. We've got lots of kids that take part as well, doing the shorter rides. And we also have a little kids ride that we support a local special school with facilities, with hand cycles that are being bought through one of our charity partner called Condev Cares. They're doing some fantastic work down there, and they're about to build them a track for riding all their different types of bikes on the kids that attend the special school down there. So we're supporting that through Robbie's Gran Fondo this year. So if you're in Australia, even New Zealand, anywhere through Asia, you'd like to make a trip down to the Gold Coast, love to have you at the event. Check out robbiesgranfondo.com.
And check out the Movistar leading the team classification. They are at the top of the table, 20 minutes and 38 seconds ahead of Trek Segafredo, and they're well positioned again with riders in this breakaway, including number 63, Andre Amador, at the back of the group. More importantly, though, number 62, the world champion, Alejandro Valverde. Jesus Sorado, the birthday boy, turning 29 today. He is sitting at the back of this group. He was in the original breakaway group of 4. They're approaching this climb, the highest climb of this year's tour. The Col d'Iseran takes them to 2,770 metres above sea level.
Well, we see the profile there. You'll be familiar with the colours now. Green, easy. Blue stepping up a little bit, up towards 6%, and then into the red, 6 to 9%. And that's what it is for so much of the Iseran. As much as the gradient, or even more, in my opinion, it's just the altitude. But as they get to the top, you see that section, 9.3%. This is one of the longest graphics we've seen so far on this tour. It's only a 13-kilometre climb. But I think we've got to take the time to illustrate how high we are in the Alps.
Did you just hear yourself?
Only a 13-kilometre climb.
Yeah.
In the past and in this tour have done climbs of 20, 24 kilometres long.
And tomorrow to Val Thorens.
It's 33 kilometres long to Val Thorens. So this one's only 13, but the altitude, 2770.
That's the key sticking point today.
That's like having someone's hands around your neck, wringing it.
And Alejandro Valverde, historically the 39-year-old, he has struggled at high altitude, number 62 in this group. And while you're organising your Grand Fondo, Robbie, I've got to work out a way to try and get a little bit fitter to do L'Etape Australia.
Well, you're going to come and do my event first. You'll be back from the Vuelta. It's a week before the Worlds. So you're coming up to the Gold Coast. That's it. No more discussion.
Done.
And you're doing the longest ride as well. You're doing the 130, not any of the others.
Why are you laughing?
Well, I just thought you might say, OK, I'll do the 60 with one climb.
Yeah. The last time I went
You've at least got to do the 100 with the two major climbs.
The last time I did a ride with Robbie up near his place in the hinterland where his event is, I kept hearing this phrase, don't worry, Keno, it's just a little bit further. Don't worry, Keno, it's just around the next corner.
Yeah, but I took you on a special climb for that one. Climbs of the Fondo a bit shorter, 8 kilometres long and 9 kilometres long, 5 to 6%. I took you on the one that was 16 kilometres long with pinches up to 22%.
Yeah, and you told me it was 6Ks long and it was just gradual.
You're welcome.
AG2R Le Mondial are now chasing. This is Matthias Frank, who's at the fronts. Romain Bardet is in no position for the general classification. He is chasing that breakaway group because he wants points in the King of the Mountains classification. And if he can't win them, he wants to prevent Damiano Caruso from winning them. So he's put teammates on the front to do the chasing to stop Caruso closing in on the polka dots. He's waited. Van Baarle has been in the breakaway for Ineos. He has now waited.
Well, that is good news for AG2R.
This is Gilbert, who was in the break and driving it for Warren Barguil. He comes to a grinding halt.
Job done. This is Magnus Cort, still pushing on. He's done a great job to get into this breakaway. A guy who started his pro career more renowned as a sprinter. As we see the Gruppetto come through the intermediate sprint, driven by Soudal Lotto. Look out for Caleb Ewan in here then.
A spot.
Andre Greipel is there. Ewan was there. Dylan Groenewegen here at the back of the group in the yellow and black with the blue shoes.
And it's worth noting, Robbie, they're working turns. They're not just cruising.
And that's what the Gruppetto always has to do. Wherever it's flat, slightly downhill, cooperate. Big teams time trial, really drive it. So many riders from Soudal Lotto, there'd be riders in there thinking, great, free ride, at least on the flat. And when it comes to the mountains, they settle into a tempo that their sprinter can handle. The thing to do in the Gruppetto, help me with the word,
collaborate.
It evades me for the moment.
At the moment, they're 10 minutes. They're 10 minutes and 22 seconds behind the front of the race.
The unwritten rule is once you're in the Gruppetto, you ride at a tempo that the weakest guy can just handle.
So it's socialism. On a
Stick it
bike.
together because the next day you might be the weakest guy.
No, well, it's not really. Let's keep it in context. He's 22. He's gone to his limits. He's just been distanced by that group. Matthias Frank also been distanced, having done the chasing to try and close it down to the leaders. Next in line, this is Miguel Charel. He is the roommate for Romain Bardet. This is Gisbert, who's just riding his own race from this point. He's been working in the breakaway group to try and set up a stage victory for Warren Barguil. That team, Akaya Samsic, looking for their first victory in the Tour de France. This is Izaguirre. He was in the original breakaway group as well. Marc Soler, now of Movistar, being dropped as Dylan Van Baarle sets the tempo out in front. 1:21, they're closing in on the leaders. It is a neck-and-neck battle between Marc Soler and Casper Asgreen for the domestic of this tour up until this point. David Gaudu, number 53, still surviving in this group. King of the Mountains jersey being worn by Romain Bardet. Just in front of him is George Bennett. 2 crashes yesterday and still in that very select group. That's important for Steven Kruijswijk. They also have Lawrence de Plus in the leading group, so he's on hand just in case.
Just look at that entire picture. If that doesn't make you feel just slightly insignificant, we look at these great riders and then zoom out. Can't even spot them in the enormity of the Alps.
Van Baal, a rider recruited to the team for the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. Flatland specialist, the cobblestones. For the last 2 days, he's gone into the early breakaway, then dropped back and supported the best climbers in the world.
We've seen it over the years with Team Sky, now Team Ineos, as our last 2 riders on the road. These were the first men dropped today.
That's
they are going to be in trouble. De Buschere,
Marco
I think
Haller.
it's Marco Haller at the same time. That's a voiture ballet, the broom wagon.
And we saw the Gruppetto go through at 10 minutes and 20 seconds, and that feels like it was at least 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, they're at least 10 minutes behind the Gruppetto. That is trouble for those 2.
They're at 19:30, so they are in elimination zone. They're at real risk of not being able to start tomorrow. What courage Bardet showed yesterday to fight, bounce back after a disappointing start to the Tour. He's still in the hunt to get himself a spot on the podium in Paris. That's for the King of the Mountains jersey. The team cars from the breakaway now, they've been dragged off to the side of the road. Richie Porte is still there. He collects from one of his Spaniers, and he's still got teammates in that leading group. At least he's got one. He has. It's Giulio Ciccone, who's still in the leading group. And here he is on the fronts. The young Italian who wore the yellow jersey for 2 days. So far, Ciccone is the only guy to have taken a yellow jersey away from Julian Alaphilippe. Alaphilippe got it back, however, and is now wearing the yellow jersey for the 14th time in this year's Tour. Simon Yates at the back, number 108. Number 57 in the red colours, the Swiss national champion. That's Sebastian Reichenbach. With his teammate, unfortunately, Thibaut Pinot out, he gets his chance to aim for a stage win.
There's our 3D graphic, the front of the race. Now just some 350 metres behind is the group with Thomas, Alaphilippe. A couple of riders just in between on that graphic dropped out of that breakaway group.
And the top of this climb is at 37.5 kilometres to go.
Then long, fast downhill brings them into Val d'Isère, a little bit flatter. Then they race around the lake down below Tignes, through the tunnels. That's also a moment, have your wits about you, really be paying attention. The tunnels are mostly unlit.
How long?
A few 100 metres each, one of them around a kilometre. So really dark, it's sunglasses down onto the tip of the nose and look over the top so you can see enough.
A bit like Dad reading the newspaper in the morning.
There's quite a few potholes and road repairs in the tunnel, so it's bumpy in some sections. And it's also wet from yesterday's downpour. The water just leaks through the rock, leaches on through, and it's wet in the tunnels. There's no turns within them though, so that shouldn't cause too many problems.
That is good. When
they come through those tunnels, out the other end, they can see across till 5 kilometres to go, but they've got to ride past. Keep going down the valley, do a U-turn, and then they make the final climb up to Tignes, 7.4 kilometres at 7%. So they get an extra 2.5 kilometres rather than turn across the top of the dam here below Tignes.
The climb tops out 2 kilometres from the finish line, then it's a flat run through to the finish effectively. Van Baal still at the front. The riders who have been caught from the breakaway, that's Patrick Conrad from Bora Hansgrohe. He's taken the opportunity to collect some food for Mühlberger and, more significantly, Buchmann. Bilbao also having been caught from the breakaway.
Just on that final 2 kilometres through to the finish after the official top of the climb here in Tignes, it's not flat through to the finish. It just keeps on dragging up all the way into the finish line. I rode it earlier today. Okay, I'm not in Tour de France condition. I was never a good climber in the scheme of the Tour de France, but I was still huffing and puffing up. It is a serious drag. Some little kicks as well. It's on the way up, so it's not flat.
We'll call it less steep.
Less steep. Just an unofficial part of the climb.
The back of the breakaway group, 108. Simon Yates has not been contributing. He's been saving. This is Tony Galopin. He's been dropped from the breakaway, caught by the yellow jersey group, and distanced once again. And it's Van Baal who is still the rider driving the tempo.
Front group, 8 kilometres from the top of the Isserand. A lot of downhill. We know Julian Alaphilippe loves it, and he's the best at it. They've got to go very soon. They can't let Van Baal go for as long as he did yesterday on the Galibier before they light things up.
This is Bilbao, who's now been dropped from the yellow jersey group. Is it a chase of the leaders, or is it an effort to put the yellow jersey under pressure? It can be both. From one
will come the other. They've got to ride their own race here. They've got to get rid of Julian Alaphilippe today. If they don't do it today, because of course you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You might not get the opportunities. The climb up to Val Thorens, very long, but way less steep. It's only around 5.5% average.
And if it happens to be a headwind on that climb tomorrow, that's a bigger advantage for the yellow jersey to sit the wheels.
You don't wait till the last chance. They've got to do it today. And there goes Van Baal. So now Walt Pouls is taking over. This is the real start of the setup for Ineos to put the yellow jersey under pressure.
For the second day running, a big performance done by Van Baal. That's Patrick Conrad that just goes through the left-hand side of the screen. We return to the rear end of the leading group. Dan Martin has now been caught. He won't last too long. It's Walt Pouls who is on the fronts. This is Michael Woods, and that's from the leading group because he's been doing so much of the pacemaking for his teammate, Rigoberto Urán.
And this is where Urán needs to push on with it if he wants to improve his place on GC. He can't worry about thinking about the stage win. He's just got to go if he wants to move up on GC.
Ciccone being dropped 133. Lutsenko, third from yesterday, 76, is also being dropped. And Reichenbach, the Swiss national champion, the red colours. Nibali driving, working full gas at the fronts. Also in the back of his mind, not just the stage, the King of the Mountains jersey for Caruso, his teammate who sits just behind him.
Well, this is perfect for Rigoberto Urán, but the gap now just 47 seconds back to the yellow jersey group.
Yates holding on at the back. And Walt Pouls is setting the tempo.
And altitude starting to have an effect. They are above 2,200 metres above sea level now. Ciccone, he is coming back towards the group. Is there anything he can do for Richie Porte? I don't think so.
All that he can do is offer him some food or a fresh water bottle. That is it. Because at this point for Richie, for everybody in that group that's behind the Ineos train, it is hold on for dear life.
Nibali, he continues to drive this front group with the gap coming down 32 seconds. Nibali leading his teammate Caruso. Valverde, he is hanging tight.
Look at how long number 77, Magnus Cort Nielsen, has lasted. He has won bunch sprint finishes at the Volta a España. He has turned himself into a guy that's got plenty of weapons. He can seriously climb.
And refusing to be dropped just yet as well. In front of him, Simon Yates, 2-stage wins already. Just tracking the rest. Should he go or should he wait, Yates? I think while Nibali is riding like this, he's got to wait.
Lutsenko is fighting his way back, and the move from Geraint Thomas, and Egan Bernal swings off and says, he's my teammate, you chase.
Taking turns. Yesterday it was Bernal who went on the offensive. Thomas tried to go after, he was tracked by the rest. Now the others have to try and cross the gap to Thomas. It is Mühlberger
for Bookman. But Ineos, when they do this, they don't panic. They gradually reel them back in. Porte has been dropped, so too Bardet. Thomas is desperately trying to push on.
Kreuzweig out of the saddle. Very small gap to land. Julian Alaphilippe, look over the shoulder. He sees Bernal in the wheel. Richie Porte has got himself back on to the tail end of this group.
This is out in front at just 29 seconds. The French national champion, Warren Barguil. Finally, Rigoberto Urán comes to the front. He's been waiting patiently. Steven Kreuzweig. Well, we head to Ting, and when he had his altitude camp, this is where it was based. Geraint Thomas is the next to go.
Big gear for the Dutchman out of the saddle. That familiar rocking style of Steven Kruijswijk. This is his first major attack of this Tour de France. He's been happy to follow, hang in there, and wait for today in the high mountains.
Richie Porte 1-3-1. He fights and he tries to survive. The yellow jersey is sticking to the rear wheel of Mikel Landa.
Egan Bernal, he goes from behind them. He rides across the gap and he looks comfortable. Landa out of the saddle. Alaphilippe, he can't follow that. The yellow jersey losing touch.
He's totally isolated now. He looks across his shoulder. There are no teammates for the Maillot Jaune. He's wrestling with the bike. He's wrestling with the mountain. And his rivals are sensing blood in the water. Kruijswijk, followed by Thomas. Mühlberger and Brookman still coming across, but Alaphilippe is not done with yet.
And they won't be done with him until the finish line. He has so much fight. He gets a very long descent to try and work his way back on. And of course then has the final climb up here to Tignes. They've got him on the ropes.
And Kruijswijk has ridden across to the leading group. He's not too worried about Thomas at the moment. Porte goes past to Alaphilippe, but Alaphilippe still has enough in the tank to get on Richie's wheel. Guillaume Martin is number 191.
Porte, a flick of the elbow, back to the yellow jersey. Not much more he can do. Everybody now approaching their absolute limit. Kruijswijk looks back. What's the damage I've done? I'll check for you, says G.
And Bernal is there, Mühlberger and Brookman. Brookman is emerging as a real threat. He is at just 2:14 behind the yellow jersey.
Mühlberger, he's dropped now. Fantastic work. And Bernal now goes. Bernal, he let Thomas attack. He dropped back behind all the others, had a look, rounded them up one by one. Now he goes to the front. Kruijswijk, the grimace. They're all still in the wheel, but Bernal is only just getting started.
And he's got 5 more kilometres worth of opportunity. 30 seconds is the gap to the front of the race for the yellow jersey. As Bernal has cracked them, he has opened up the gap. Egan Bernal, the longer this climb is, the better it is for the Colombian. We could be seeing history made for Colombian cycling.
As the others start to struggle, not enough oxygen for them. Egan Bernal, he is coming into his element. He said it a week ago. We're approaching the high mountains and the high altitude. I like them long, I like them steep, I like it high. I'm ready.
He is blasting through the thin air, still chasing Warren Barguil. Laurens de Plus now will be waiting for Kruijswijk. It's de Plus off to the left. He's looking across the shoulder. It is every man for himself. The world champion battles on number 62, Alejandro Valverde.
This has now obliterated the breakaway and the group of favourites. Kruijswijk with Thomas in the wheel. Then it is Brookman.
The yellow jersey. He hasn't blown up. He's found his rhythm. He's limiting the damage, but it's still big damage, and there's still a big climb to come at the end of this stage. Plus, there's tomorrow's Richie Porte rides away from Julian Alaphilippe.
And you'll see riders at these altitudes. They'll have good moments, bad moments. You've got to ride the roller coaster and just stay at your limit, whatever that is at that particular time. Slow it down, speed it up, hurt yourself as much as you can stand. Get over the top, and Alaphilippe, he'll be hoping he is close enough to descend back towards them. Bernal, he is at the front of the race, Nibali in the wheel. Uran goes with them, and so does Simon Yates.
And now, number 83, that's Laurens de Plus. He was in the breakaway. He's waiting to work with Kruijswijk. Bernal now catching Warren Barguil. They are at the front of the race. Tête de la course, Nibali with the front row seats. It's then Rigoberto Uran, the defending champion. The hips are rocking and rolling, but so too are everybody else's.
De Plus now for Kruijswijk, the teammates of Jumbo-Visma, trying to set a pace that can start to peg back the Colombian Bernal. He's in the white jersey as best young rider, but this is the one he wants. They've got rid of Julian Alaphilippe. He's 36 seconds behind the front of the race.
At the start of the day, the gap between Bernal and Alaphilippe was 1 minute and 30 seconds. How much time can he make up on the descent?
I think he can make up about 45 or 50 seconds on the descent, but if he's alone or getting no assistance and he gets that headwind through the plateau in Val d'Isère, and then it's not over yet, through the tunnels below Tignes, they drop down further, and there's still a whole climb to come, which finishes at 2,100 metres above sea level.
Number 63, that is Andre Amador. 191 here, Martin. The yellow jersey continues to try to defend. This is Bardet in the polka dot jersey. Just in front of him, yesterday's stage winner, Nairo Quintana. That's 1 and 2 from yesterday, in fact. Flick at the elbow. Any support coming? No.
Bernal, you've started it. You're going to have to finish it. The riders who are with you are interested in one thing only, stage win. You've gone on the attack. Thomas is sitting in the wheel as much as you can on a climb like this of Steven Kruijswijk. They've got Bookman with them. Bernal needs to try and take this one all the way to the end.
It is a bold move by Egan Bernal. He wears white as the best young rider. He's one of the youngest riders in the race. In fact, he's the youngest remaining rider in the race. And look at the speed he's now picking up. It flattens out ever so slightly here, and this looks close to 30 kilometres per hour for Bernal.
Little flatter section, 3.5 kilometres from the top. Bernal getting things wound up. Guillaume Martin, flick of the elbow. Julien Alaphilippe. This is no acting anymore, Julien Alaphilippe. This is everything he has got. He's got to fight to the top of this climb, use his skills on the descent, see if he can get himself back in touch.
All it is an act of courage from Julien Alaphilippe. There's no faking it now. 4 kilometres for him still to climb. He's almost 800 metres behind Egan Bernal.
When Julien Alaphilippe first took the yellow jersey, and even when he retook it from Ciccone, he never imagined he'd be in this position so close to the end of the Tour de France and still wearing the maillot jaune. He has fought so gamely, and it's not over yet. They have not got him beaten.
Well, many thought that number 61, Nairo Quintana, would go on to become the first Colombian to win the Tour de France. Now, it's the man in white, Egan Bernal, who is in the box seat. He moves to within 35 seconds of yellow, and he's 25 in front of the defending champion, his teammate.
This is really important. The work being done here by Laurens de Plus for Steven Kruijswijk, and the man who can take big advantage of what's happening is Geraint Thomas. Also Bookman, not with the responsibility, but whoever has to chase, they'll have Geraint Thomas sitting in the wheel and ready to accelerate if they could possibly get back towards Bernal. It's falling into place for Ineos. They've never been in this position in the Tour de France before. They've always had the yellow jersey by the back end. They've had to change the tactics. So far, it's working.
And if they do win, it could prove to be the most satisfying. Because it's been the one where they've had the biggest odds stacked against them. Wout Poels sticks to the group with the yellow jersey. How much will Wout Poels be encouraging Bernal, giving the information? The yellow jersey's chasing, but he's struggling. Keep going.
Certainly giving the information. Also, the sports director in the car, in the passenger seat, he'll be watching the feed of the race, knowing exactly what's going on, whatever the gaps are. Important if everything does come back together. Wout Poels, possibly more work to do, light things up again, and relaunch the attacks on the final climb to Tignes.
Vincenzo Nibali has been dropped from this leading group. It's now down to 4. Behind Bernal, it's Barguil, Uran, Yates. This is an image from a couple of moments ago because Vincenzo Nibali is no longer there.
If this group of 4 go over the top together, they're within 2 kilometres of the summit now. Bernal really needs the cooperation, but Yates and Barguil thinking only stage win. Rigoberto Uran, surely he must ride with his countrymen. So much to gain for Uran, being off the front here. Others blowing up behind. He can really improve his position, or does he gamble heavily and just sit on Bernal and go for it all?
Well, he knows the answer to that because he's 9th overall. He's 5:33 behind. So the podium is even a long way away for Rigoberto Uran.
Laurens de Plus is holding this gap. 16 seconds.
Rigoberto Uran, there's the answer. He won't be working, not because he doesn't want to, because he can't. And Warren Barguil is back to the Barguil of the past. This is impressive. He's climbing now into the top 10 overall.
No sign from Uran, but he is now gone. Yates, he is on the tail of the group. And Warren Barguil, the French champion, what a renaissance.
Egan Bernal. Just a little check onto the race radar. Nibali now being caught by Laurens de Plus. The gap, or we can see the pink colours, it foreshortens it because that's Rigoberto Uran, and he's just off the back. what's going through the mind of number one.
But the gap's going out. We saw Uran pop, and the gap's gone from 16 to 20 now between the two groups. Julien Alaphilippe now at 1:16. Egan Bernal is closing in, almost virtual leader of this tour.
12 seconds, 11 seconds. That's the gap for Bernal to move from white to yellow. Monte Group Goubert team car there for Guillaume Martin. 2 kilometres to the top of the climb for the chasing group, being led by Laurens de Plus.
The signs were there yesterday. They started late. Barguil is now dropped. So the pace of Egan Bernal over the top of the turn of Barguil may be a little bit optimistic from the Frenchman. But he battles on.
A little rush of blood. Simon Yates is still just sticking to the wheel of Bernal like glue.
Simon Yates, a proven Grand Tour winner already, winning the Vuelta last year. The ideal companion for Egan Bernal. One for the stage, one for the yellow. The question is, will Yates work with him?
Wout Poels has just attacked the yellow jersey of Julien Alaphilippe to try and work his way back to Geraint Thomas to support him. And that'll be disheartening for Julien Alaphilippe.
Julien Alaphilippe was going into this stage expecting exactly this. He went into yesterday's stage expecting things to unravel like this and be attacked from a long way out. They started pretty late, but they saw the signs they wanted, got confirmation of the correct tactic, and today they've started on time and they're riding him out of yellow, because there it is, 1.5 minutes to Egan Bernal,
who is the virtual race leader. The yellow jersey is starting to fray.
The yellow jersey is being pulled from the shoulders of Julien Alaphilippe. He's now 2 seconds down. Bernal, virtual race leader of the Tour de France.
The Colombians, they've been so close to winning the Tour in the past. Second place finishes with Fabio Parra back in the 1980s. Quintana has been in second. He's been third. Last year, Bernal was the revelation of the race. He's now the virtual race leader, and his teammate, the defending champion, is at 33 seconds.
For so long, Laurens de Plus was able to hold that gap at 16. We saw them pop at the front. Uran was gone. Barguil got dropped. And then the gap also opening that second group on the road. Bernal, the man for the high altitude climbs. He called it days ago. I'm ready for this.
Yates just threw his water bottle off the bike. Didn't take a mouthful. The psychological, the one that was on his bike, he just got rid of it. He doesn't want any extra weight.
All ballast overboard. There'll be soigneurs at the top of the mountain. Take on a fresh bottle, tackle the descent. And if these two can work together, well, Yates, he's in trouble.
It was a sign that he was getting desperate. Egan Bernal is now on his own. Yates will keep fighting. He's a good descender.
And they're almost at the top. But when it hits you at these altitudes, it hits you fast, it hits you hard.
Back.
Here's soigneurs at the top. So this shows how close we are to the top. This is where they start to hand jackets, bidons, etc.
This is the move by Wout Poels to get away from the yellow jersey and back to Geraint Thomas.
Well, look at the differential there, 8 kilometres an hour faster. He tries to jump across, but it's a long way across. At that point, it was 1:16 to the group of Alaphilippe to the front, and it was 40 seconds to the group of Thomas.
This is at the 1 kilometre marker from the top of the climb. Just inside a kilometre still to climb for Egan Bernal. There's Yates, keeps on fighting.
In the background, we're hearing race radio. Alaphilippe is on his own. Pouls has gone. Alaphilippe has dropped the rest. He continues his chase, and he's never looked forward to a descent more than this one off the Col d'Israël. 2,770 metres above sea level, 1 kilometre to the top for the chasing group, still led by Laurens de Plus. Well, when does Kruiswijk come out of his shell?
There's no panic. They're banking on Bernal being by himself through the Valley Road, and then they can work together, completely isolated in every sense of the word, but still fighting bravely. This is everything that's in the tank for Julien Alaphilippe.
Well, you can see the last drops in the tank are hanging from the chin for Julien Alaphilippe. The yellow dream at the moment looks to be coming to an end. Don't count him out yet.
But it's yellow that Bernal is getting his hands onto. He's now the virtual race leader, and he's the virtual race leader by 17 seconds. He started in second place overall. 5 seconds in front of Geraint Thomas, mind you, in third.
And you can just imagine the scenes in Colombia. People gathered around big screens and TVs to watch the exploits of this young man in the white jersey. Best young rider of the Tour. Forget best young rider, best rider.
He is the best rider at the moment.
And he is in pain.
Absolutely.
On the shoulders.
This is self-inflicted, but it is worth it. Egan Bernal is on his way to a historic moment in Colombian and world cycling. Rigoberto Urán now. He's about to be caught by the Duplouse-led group as Mikel Landa behind them is fighting his way back.
Vincenzo Nibali on the back of this group behind Bookman. In front of him, Geraint Thomas, #1 defending champion. Kruiswijk still content to sit behind Lawrence Duplouse. What a good buy he has been.